So there are about 4.6 million New Zealanders alive today. How many New Zealanders do you think there have ever been? You're going to have to guess, or it's going to be quiet. And if you follow me on Twitter, don't say what you... How many? 7 million? 6, 10, 20? Higher than 20? No? It's interesting because most people guess between kind of 20 and 40 million. I've had some guesses actually up to 700 million. So the answer is 7. And the interesting thing with that, and of course there's going to be issues with data collection and things, and the data set only goes back to 1855. But what I find most extraordinary about that number is that 2/3 of us are alive today. And I was already feeling pretty responsible for the shape of our country before that, and now when you learn that, it's like there's so much that's kind of in our hands. And that's just an example of how when you can use numbers, you can actually get a different lens and a different understanding about our country or the shape of our country. And one of the reasons that I use the word numbers or figures often instead of data is because everyone's here because they probably understand what data is. But if you go and look out amongst the rest of a country and see where the word data tends to show up, it's what people buy to top up their mobile phones with. And it's really interesting when you realise that, and the fact that we're going around talking about open data and big data, and it's scary for almost everyone, and even people within large private sector companies or government agencies. Very few people actually feel really comfortable with the language that we use around data often. And so part of the reason that we're here with Figure NZ is to help lift that capability and to change the language about how we talk about data, and to realise that it's just a lens and a way of telling stories and a way of understanding what's been. And so in terms of I often like to think about the landscape, like why is data and why are numbers something that we keep talking about at the moment, and why isn't it something that's been around for decades in terms of being as popular? And if you think about the landscape that we're in, so we used to live in a world where it was hard to share information widely. Right up until kind of 10 years ago, for all of history, it was hard to share information widely, and it was also hard to communicate widely and in multiple directions. For the first time, we now live in a world where it's easy to share information widely. And so it used to be that the best future was created by having a few great leaders, and that's because it just made sense that all the information was only funneled through a few people who were able to make informed decisions and tell people what the best direction is. And for the first time now, we can actually say the future can be shaped by everyone making good, informed decisions. What I find really fascinating by that is that often the attitudes are, people think, everyone's holding on to their data because they don't want people to see what the stories are, or they don't want to understand, they don't want people to see what's being collected. It's actually that we've never been able to do it before. We've never been able to share data in the way that we can now, and so it's new for all of us. And so I think that understanding that is really important for kind of working together to figure out the best way to open it and to make it usable. And so Figure NZ, so that the organisation I run, is the first organisation globally to assert that everyone can be a user of data. And so if you think about, or if you imagine what society was like when not everybody could read, people believed that not everyone was capable of reading, and there was just a small portion of the population kind of involved in the knowledge sharing of information and told everyone else what the book said. And we don't accept that model now. We absolutely believe that everyone can learn to read, and we achieve that standard. We achieve it because we assert it, and we achieve it because the way that we teach it and the language we used is one that everyone can participate in. But we haven't made that transition with numbers and with data yet. We still believe that only a small portion of the population are capable of using numbers in their thinking, and we expect intermediaries to tell us all the insights from numbers. I absolutely believe that expert lens is a really valuable one, but it doesn't mean that everyone can't participate. And so if you think about a 7-year-old writing a story and saying, I got a new Labrador on the weekend, there are 46 Labradors in my town, just learning to use numbers as a way to understand our world, it's not scary, it's something that we can all do, but we need to kind of work together to say what is the right language, how should things be published, and how should they be shared. And so So with Figure NZ, we work with we're a social enterprise, so it's free for everyone to use. You can't create a data democracy if only a small portion of the population can access it. And so we work with people like Stats NZ, or we've worked with LINZ and other agencies to take their data and to put it into a place where it is searchable and findable and kind of usable by people regardless of what their skill level is. And it's been really interesting to realise how hard it is to value or to predict what the value of data will be. It's so impossible, and it's really hard when you're operating in a world where you need to, justify the cost and look related to the benefits. And so I think if you think of something like Wikipedia, how would you value the impact of that? That's how I feel about how you value the impact of people using data. If you think about like an example of a tow truck driver in Hawke's Bay going, I wonder what the trend of accidents is in my region, and knowing in their first year of business to get a contractor rather than an employee because the trend is seasonal rather than a growth in their business. What's the value of that? Like, what's the value when all of us are able to make those decisions? And I think we just don't know, and I think a lot of it is about freeing it and trusting that or working together until everyone is able to use it as another language. And just someone said to me the other day, actually, can't we just release a whole bunch of stuff that's on one topic area and use that as a way to demonstrate the value, and then we can make a case for a wider thing? And I was like, actually no, because it's like releasing one letter of the alphabet and it's going, why is no one writing beautiful things? You don't know what's going to happen. And so I guess my main message, one of our main messages, especially for this audience, is that we are in it together. And I think there's a lot of belief that action is slow because people don't want to engage, or people are a bit afraid of it. But in the last few years, I've worked literally now with hundreds of people, especially in the public sector, and I've never once come across somebody that doesn't want to share their data. It's a scary environment, and it's hard, and we've all never done it before. And so I think just let's see how far we can go, and let's be better together for it.